Alright, welcome back to another fix and flip. Today we are working on a 2012 Chevy Malibu. It has the 2.4 Ecotec motor in it. Went to go look at the car thinking that it was going to have a blown rear main seal. The guy that I bought it from was showing it to me. Runs kind of rough, but it was drivable, and besides the fact that when you put oil in it, you looking under the car and it was dumping right back out on the ground, like as fast as you could put a quart of oil in, it come right back out. So he pretty much said that he was done with it, had a shop look at it, and they told him that the motor was junk. They wanted nothing to do with it. So he sold it to me for a couple $100. After I was looking at it, told him I'd buy it from him, got the title and stuff, and I reached back here on the back side of the motor. Show it to you. Right here, if you look, that is a timing chain tensioner. This thing was loose, and this is where the oil was coming out. I mean, I could turn it with my hand back and forth, and the oil was literally just dumping out of the back of the motor right there. So once I bought it from him, I pretty much just reached back there with a pair of pliers and tightened it as tight as it would go. Oil leak fixed. So before you say rear main seal, make sure you actually look to see where the oil's coming out, because this is on the opposite side of the motor from the rear main. So I was able to fix that. So the oil leak is fixed. Besides, the valve cover gasket leaks pretty good. So the next problem is what I believe is running like shit, because I think when whoever did the timing on this, because he said that he had the timing chain replaced months ago, I think they forgot when they were putting it back together, they didn't torque that tensioner down, so over time the heat and the vibration loosened it up. So I'm pretty sure the timing chain jumped. It doesn't sound like anything's broke inside the motor when it's running. The best way that I'm going to be able to tell is I'm going to take the valve cover off, and that way I can see the timing chain and get some kind of visual on some of the guides and things like that, and I'll know if this turns into a timing chain job. The next thing I'm going to do, come inside the car, hook up just your basic scan tool to it. Let's see if I can get this to focus. So what you're going to look for on a scan tool, even if it's a cheap one, you don't need no high-tech stuff. Anything timing related, you know that you're going to have to put a timing chain kit on there. Alright, so crankshaft position, camshaft position, that's I already know. It's definitely a timing chain issue, so more than likely when that came loose, it either broke one of the guides or the timing jumped a tooth, if not more. So pretty much there's a 50-50 chance when I pop that valve cover off that, you know, the motor's just shot and there's metal shavings everywhere. More than likely that's not the case, judging by the way it was running. It runs good at an idle. You don't hear any knocking or grinding or anything, any funny noises. You can just tell it's running rough, you can tell. So I have high hopes that once I open up the side of the motor that it just needs the timing chain replaced and all the guides and stuff. which on an Ecotec is relatively easy. So I'm not too worried about it. And if worst case scenario, I mean for a couple $100, all I really would have to do is swap the motor out, which is only going to be a 4 or 5 hour job, and then you got no worries after that. So what I'm going to do is start by take the valve cover off. I'll pretty much skip to that point. It's going to be pretty straightforward. You just take the wiring off, any wiring that you can find, and then it's pretty much looks like all 10mm bolts all the way around. And then for your spark plugs, take those out, and that should pop right up. And then I'll start the video back up from that point. Do remember that this motor for this year on a Malibu, probably Equinox, anything with a 2.4, had a recall. This intake has a port that clogs up in there, and it holds water, and then it freezes, and then it blows out the rear main, because that pressure inside the motor has to go somewhere, and it always for some reason picks the rear main seal. That's kind of what I thought I was looking at when I originally went to look at this car. Not the case. Rear main's not leaking at all. This right here is probably aftermarket. I believe this comes plastic, so I'm sure somebody addressed that problem already once before, and there wasn't really any water anywhere when I took off that top cover that goes on here. And I looked down in here, but I'm still more than likely, if nothing inside the motor is jacked to where the motor needs to be replaced, I'm gonna go ahead and take this intake off, clean it up real good, and there's gonna be a hole in the middle, a port, that if it's not already drilled out, I'm gonna drill it out. You make that little port bigger, that way it, you know, it doesn't get clogged on you as easily. If it gets to that point, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so first thing I noticed, as soon as I took the valve cover off, there's a loose timing chain. That thing should be snug. If it's loose, it's not right. Go ahead and flip this around. Here's the top timing chain guide right here. You can see how loose this timing chain is. Definitely have a timing chain issue. all you can really do is look down in there. You might not be able to make it off the camera, but see if you can see any broken guides to start. And I'm pretty sure we're missing a fucking guide, or it's broke right here. One that's up here on this side. Okay, there's a little hole down here. That little round bolt looking thing, or plug, or whatever you'd want to describe it as, I'm pointing at. Okay, that's like you take that off, that's like a window to get to the bolt to that top guide. And it looks like the top half of that guide is gone. Right down in there. Because I can see the bolt, but I can't see the guide on it. It should come all the way up. A little bit higher than that. I don't know how good you can see down in there. Not the bolt right here. The first one is facing up, but the one that's facing this way. Okay, that's the timing chain guide bolt. But I can see the bolt, but I don't see the guide. And when I'm looking at this tensioner back here that I showed you guys in the beginning, tensioner right here, again, inside that's pressing up against another guide, and it doesn't look like it's pressing very hard, so that tensioner is probably junk too. Now you just kind of want to look at your cams and all up in here for metal shavings and shit like that before you decide the timing chain is going to fix this. It looks decent. Like, the oil wasn't leaking out of the plugs, so that was a plus. Yeah, the timing on this is way the fuck off. Hopefully there's no bent valves or nothing. The best way I'm going to be able to tell without tearing the motor apart, taking the front cover off, get to the timing chain, take the timing chain off to where I can free spin. Get in there and free spin it and listen, basically. Hear what I hear. So, this has definitely turned into a timing chain job. It's pretty much that easy to tell. This fucker's loose. I'm pretty surprised it was still running, but it was, so that's good signs. Okay, so the next step I'm gonna have to do is jack the car up, get it up on a jack, get that tire off, and then you're gonna have to take this air box off right here. Maybe that motor mount down there comes off, but I've done it without taking the motor mount off. For some reason, the front cover gasket goes around that motor mount for no reason whatsoever, so I usually cut the gasket to where you can get it on and off without removing the motor mount. So once I get the car jacked up and everything ready to go and get to the timing cover where you can see it on camera easy, I will pick the video back up from there. Besides that, so far it's going good. I don't think I'm gonna have to pull the motor. Alright, so once you get that air box off, it's pretty easy. Just a 10mm bolt, and then it pulls right out of there. And you're gonna come around to the side, and you're gonna take the plastic cover off right here. And then the first thing you're going to want to do is to take the belt off, and then you want to take the harmonic balancer off. So here, it's going to be a 21mm. It's bolt on. You don't need no special tools. And then the belt tensioner up here is going to be 115mm. If you're doing this in the car, you're going to want to use a wrench for that. And then you're going to look at these bolts right here all the way around. Take them off. And there's one up here that's going to go to the water pump. You're going to take that off. And then that front cover should come right off. You're probably going to have to use a screwdriver or something to wiggle it free. But it's pretty much that easy. And then you'll have the timing chain completely exposed. Now that both of them pulleys are off, you can clearly see every bolt that you need to get to. All the way around. Just don't forget this bolt right here, because that goes through the front cover all the way through. It's actually a mounting bolt for the water pump, but the water pump's not going to move or anything because it has a couple more bolts in the back side that are going to keep it right where it needs to be. Alright, here we are with that front cover off. So the timing chain looks like. Pretty much missing an entire guide. This one that goes right here. And then this is where you check the water pump chain, and if it's loose, you're just going to have to replace that too. So I'm just going to put a whole new timing chain kit on here, minus the water pump. From this point on, you're going to want to go to my page and click on the video for this. I already have a timing chain video for this motor. I'll go ahead and put the link to it in the description. That way you have the exact step-by-step. The videos of the same motor, not this motor, but that's a 2.2, which is pretty much the exact same thing, same process. But it shows you with the motor out of a car, so that way you can follow along step by step and make sure you don't mess nothing up. Once you get the timing set, pretty much just reverse process, obviously putting it back on, and then you're pretty much done from there. I'll go ahead and finish the timing on this and then put it back together and fire up the car and show you guys the end result. Don't forget to go to my page and click on the 2.2 Ecotec timing, and then it'll be step by step. Same thing for a 2.4. The timing is the exact same.